Coming up, what caused a new spike in COVID cases in the northwest? New details about the man being questioned over Cleo Smith's disappearance. And will Australia beat Bangladesh to make the T20 World Cup semi-finals? That's next.
Tonight, fresh concern for health authorities as Moree records 33 new COVID cases.
The moment police found little Cleo Smith.
What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name is Cleo.
Hello, Cleo.
A murder charge laid over a deadly home invasion on the Central Coast.
CCTV released of two cars as police investigate a fatal Port Stephens shooting.
And the Matildas heading back to the Hunter for a blockbuster.
This is NBN News with Paul Lobb and Natasha Beyersdorf.
Good evening. The northwest is tonight dealing with a new COVID outbreak.
Of the 103 cases recorded in Hunter, New England today, almost half were in the region, including 33 in Moree.
Reporter Sophie Scanlon is there for us. Sophie, this really has health authorities worried.
That's right, Tash and Paul, and that's because this is the highest case count the New England region has ever recorded. In Moree Hospital behind me, a makeshift COVID-19 ward has been set up, and workers have been brought in from both Tamworth and Armidale to man it to help with that and also the vaccination and testing efforts. Moree residents answering the call to get tested after 33 new cases linked to a funeral, a wake and a number of celebrations. Sophie Scanlon, NBN News.
And the Moree outbreak is causing concern across the border. Live now to Peter Fegan at Gundawindi. Peter, Queensland is on alert after 3 cases there.
It certainly is, Paul. The next 24 hours will be the most critical here in both Gundawindi and for Queensland. Those 3 cases that were announced today are the first cases of community transmission we've had here in Queensland for almost 2 weeks. But of most concern is 2 of the 3 cases weren't vaccinated, and all 3 have been active in the community for up to 5 days. But the Premier of Queensland, Anastasia Palaszczuk, today played down the chances of an outbreak, crediting Gundawindi's high vaccine rate. 80% of the population of Gundawindi are fully vaccinated, while over 90% have had at least 1 dose. But the Queensland government will certainly be keeping a good eye on that fresh cluster in Moree, because of course Moree is part of the border bubble, and we've seen it before. If there's the risk of spreading to Queensland, they may well just readjust what happens within that border bubble. Paul?
Thanks, Peter. With each passing day, the Hunter is accounting for a smaller share of cases in its health district. Live to reporter Sam Burberry in Newcastle. Sam, how many were there today?
36 in the Hunter poll, which makes it 6 days in a row now where we've been below 50. But as you can see in red on screen there, the numbers have been rising elsewhere in the district. The Tamworth, Armidale and Mid-Coast Council areas are now seeing cases almost every day, while there's even been one at Tenterfield. Thankfully, the vaccines appear to be working. Hospitals have not seen an increase in patients with severe disease. Double dose rates are now in the 80s in most areas across the state. Paul?
Thanks, Sam. New South Wales is ramping up its booster campaign. With the state awash with so many vaccines, some are at risk of being thrown out. It comes as our frontline health staff help out south of the border.
A New South Wales ambulance sitting in front of the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne. Our paramedics still helping Victoria, a state with 4 times the number of cases.
Chris O'Keefe, NBN News.
My name is Cleo. They're the 4 words that sparked elation across the country when Cleo Smith first spoke to police who rescued her in a Western Australian home.
Tonight we can bring you that incredible moment and the reaction from the officer who scooped her up in his arms.
A family back together again once more. Cleo in her mother's arms, a stepfather close by. Damien Ryan, NBN News.
Police investigating the shooting death of a man at Port Stephens have released CCTV of 2 cars they're looking for as part of the investigation. Both were seen heading along Mount Hall Road at Raymond Terrace shortly after the victim, David King, was gunned down in late August. The 45-year-old was found by paramedics after his car crashed into a tree. A man has been acquitted of murder over the Boxing Day death of his friend in Newcastle. 38-year-old Sean Johnson admitting to stabbing Steve O'Brien in 2019, but argued he was acting in self-defence.
Steve O'Brien had been enjoying Boxing Day drinks in his backyard before he was slashed in the throat by Sean Johnson. In a statement through his solicitor, Mark Ramsland, Johnson said he wanted to tell Mr. O'Brien's parents how sorry he was and that he never thought this would happen. Johnson, who's already pleaded guilty to manslaughter, will be sentenced at a later date. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Maitland is one of the fastest growing communities in the state, and the race is on to build the infrastructure it needs. The local Catholic diocese is investing millions more in its schools at Chisholm to cater for hundreds of extra students.
What was once an empty paddock at Chisholm is now home to state-of-the-art schools. Adam Murray, NBN News.
Agriculture is reaching new heights in an effort to improve safety and surveillance. Drones are proving an essential tool and locals are training up.
Long gone are the days of getting the lay of the land by horseback. Hunter producers are getting a fresh perspective.
Lockdown made many of us into amateur gardeners. Now you can see how your efforts measure up alongside seasoned green thumbs, with the inaugural Newcastle Garden Awards looking for entries. Created by real estate agent Michael Edwards, the judging panel includes the likes of local gardening guru Judy Sharp.
One of the hesitancies for people is that they maybe don't feel they've got an award-winning garden. The whole idea is just to showcase all the beautiful gardens we've got.
And I've seen a lot of people garden that haven't ever been really interested before, so I think that we're going to see a lot of entries coming from some of those gardeners.
Entries close in a week.
Good on you, Judy. Still to come, the latest on a Central Coast home invasion that left an elderly man dead.
The hunt for 3 people over an assault, carjacking and fire on the far north coast.
And later in sport, the Knights unveil their new look for the new season.
In breaking news, NBN News can confirm Moree will be out of the Queensland border bubble from midnight. It follows today's announcement of 33 new COVID cases.
A 30-year-old man is behind bars tonight, accused of a horrific murder which has shocked a community on the Central Coast. Police are still trying to work out an alleged motive.
Alan Lambert, a loving husband, grandfather and champion to his neighbours. Grace Fitzgibbon, NBN News.
Police are now appealing for information after an assault, carjacking and fire on the far north coast last weekend. On Saturday, officers were called to the Ballina Bunnings car park amid reports of a brawl. Police say a man was assaulted by 3 others and his car was stolen. A black Range Rover that left the scene was later found at Alstonville, engulfed in flames. Prohibited drugs were located around the vehicle. No arrests have been made.
The Prime Minister has touched down in Australia, with the French fury over the scrapped submarines deal continuing to loom large. He's been accused of damaging international relationships and his personal reputation.
Back on home soil, but there are some checks even the Prime Minister can't avoid. Jonathan Kersley, NBN News.
Now to Gavin Morris for a quick look at the weather. And Gav, the November rain is moving in.
It certainly is. Here we go. It's going to be quite a wet November. The first rain band sweeping in on the radar, arriving across the Greater Hunter, mid-north coast and the northwest. This is going to come through in waves. So we've got the first one with us at the moment. Then it's going to back off and we'll actually have some nice warm, dry air there throughout parts of Saturday. Then the next one will start to approach and move through on Sunday into Monday. Looks like that one's really going to flare up somewhat across northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland. That one will pass by. Then we'll have another come through during the middle of the week. So it looks like this is going to be an ongoing trend for November. All of your local details later.
Thanks, Gav. Coming up next, we're live to Carnarvon for the latest on the Cleo Smith investigation.
Also ahead, named and shamed, the awards no company wants to win.
And the circle of life. Taronga Zoo enjoying a lion baby boom.
More now on one of our top stories, the Cleo Smith case. Reporter Michael Thompson is in Carnarvon for us tonight. Michael, the next big step is charges. What's the latest with the investigation?
Natasha, I'm standing outside the Carnarvon police station. The 36-year-old man who's in custody is still being questioned by police. We've been told, and we understand, that charges will be laid by night time in days. So a lot of work to be done. But from Carnarvon, those words that you heard, or we heard earlier in the bulletin when she was rescued, my name is Cleo, something I think most people will never forget. Natasha?
A warning tonight to get in early with your Christmas shopping or risk missing out. Global shipping delays mean everything from bicycles to booze is taking longer to get into Australia, and it's costing customers more when it arrives.
Think of an item, any item, and it almost certainly arrived here by sea. And right now, getting those items in and on the shelves is proving difficult.
Kate Haberfield is here with all the sport.
And Kate, a candid admission from one of our star batsmen.
Yeah, he says they need to step up. Thanks, guys. Next, Marnus Labuschagne on the Ashes, and England's claims the Gabba is no longer a fortress. And the Matildas about to host the world's best. Marnus Labuschagne says Australia's batsmen have been letting the team down and they need to step up for the Ashes. He's also swatted away claims from England star Joe Root that the Gabba is no longer the test fortress of days gone by.
A quick stop off at the dog park for Marnus Labuschagne and his pooch Milo, but it's never long before the number 3 gets a bat back in his hand.
Great news for Hunter football fans, with the Matildas set to return to McDonald Jones Stadium to face the USA on November 30 following a game in Sydney. With venue capacities in New South Wales now unrestricted, organisers are hoping for a record Newcastle crowd.
They've always been a fan favourite in the Hunter.
Despite 2 years in the international wilderness, Kurtley Beale is dreaming big after his surprise call-up to the Wallabies squad for their spring tour. Beale is now aiming for a 4th World Cup campaign in 2023.
My hunger is still there to keep growing as a player, to keep pushing myself with the best and against the best. So obviously with the side of the World Cup in France in 2023, it's still a goal of mine.
Wallabies face Scotland at Murrayfield early on Monday morning. After the break, the Knights unveil their 2022 strip.
This report brought to you by Bluebet, the true blue Aussie bookie.
The Knights have unveiled their home and away jerseys for the 2022 season. Both were designed with the help of players and staff, including Kalen Ponga and Danny Baderas. The inspiration, creating a modern armour for a new chapter at the club. Wests are shaping as the team to beat heading into the Newcastle district cricket season. They won the 1- and 2-day competitions last season and want to pick up where they left off. After a delayed start, cricket is back, weather depending.
Yeah, it's cricket season, right.
In round 2 of the Women's T20 League, Wests beat Warners Bay at Fane Oval, Charlestown downed Belmont, while the West Rosellas tore through Hamwicks, restricting them to just 24 runs. And Waratah Mayfield needed just 11.5 overs to beat Merriweather. Not bad.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate.
Members of the Morpeth community met today, calling on the government to do something about the village's old train station. They say it's been left to rack and ruin since 1988, but has the potential to be an asset.
I mean, this could be carriages for bed and breakfast with a restaurant, or something that is an attraction for people to come to Morpeth.
Maitland MP Jenny Aitchison says she'll take the matter to Parliament.
Next, Gavin Morris joins us with the weather.
Good evening. Well, the rain's arrived. We had a rain band make its way across pretty much the entire region, and there is more to come, and it is going to be ongoing over the next week or two or three. This morning's beautiful light at dawn. Red sky in the morning, sailors warning. There's actually something to this. The reason being, high-level cloud usually comes in. It's the precursor to some kind of wet weather event or nasty weather. Not always, but it comes in, and on the other side of the horizon, it's still clear skies. So the rising sun, still in clear skies, illuminates that high-level cloud nicely. So this is what that wet weather event has produced so far, right throughout the inland parts of New South Wales and Victoria, where there's been flooding. There's been a lot of rain from this system inland, and there's plenty more to come. It has been falling over the northern tropics, that wave there moving through today. Storms galore flaring up throughout the northwest. It has been battering Burke. Big storms here also throughout the interior of WA. So this system just sitting there, so we'll see patchy falls of rain again on and off throughout tomorrow, affecting most of eastern Australia. You can see it's not a huge event as far as large accumulations are concerned, but it's a large event because of the ground covered, and this is going to make for a moisture-laden ground, and then these systems will come through one after the other. So we get some breaks and then they'll come through. So we've got this trough line sitting there tomorrow, stealing our sunshine, producing rain from the capital to Brisbane. A warm one for Adelaide, settling in the Alice. Rain on the rock yesterday. Uluru, good falls, wettest 48-hour period so far in 2021. Storms for Darwin, all fine for Perth. In for a look at the radar, there's that rain band as it moved through. Very light rain, it built a little bit, clearing for now, just hanging around across the mountains. Cloud made for a cool one, only topped out into the low 20s today. Of course, it is quite humid. There's a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and that's not going to change. The northerlies with us yet again. They'll be upon us along the coast first thing and spilling right across the valley yet again, wrapping around the tops. So it is going to still be quite cloudy for most, and you can see patchy falls of rain again. So accumulations will be on the small side. But temperatures very similar to what we experienced today, only maxing out into the low 20s. Small temperature swings from the overnight minima to the daily maxima. We've got 22s and 23s for the lower Hunter, and the upper Hunter you're going to find pretty much the same. It's not really going to have that much of a chance to warm up during tomorrow. Heading to the oceans, well, the swell is coming back. Not much of it there today, but it is going to re-rise back to 1.5 meters. So it'll be creeping up, but those winds again heavily out of the northeast. Tomorrow morning, there's a high about 9:15, back to the low in the afternoon. So it's a very early overnight low there at 2:45. Sun to rise 5:50, down 7:24. New moon phase, not going to see much of that. So we've got a break though on Saturday, warming up. The northerlies kick in, then the next wave starts to affect us from Sunday. Overnight clearing, backing off, and then another system coming through next Wednesday. And as I said, this looks to be somewhat ongoing. Storm potential embedded in that system. There could be some very good falls there from that for some locations there Sunday into Monday. And this system also affecting the Central Coast. Let's take a look at the surf vision. Not much to play with today. Very small, particularly around low tide. Good for a little bit of a dip. The water temperature started to warm. Those nor'easters have been just causing it to cool back off ever so slightly. But it was a day for the foil boards. Good night.
Thank you, Gavin. That's our bulletin on this Thursday.
Tracy is next with a current affair, and we'll have updates throughout the evening.
Thanks for your company from all of us here.
Good night.
Good night.